Welcome to Grace Over Written Blood, the podcast where we celebrate women's journeys and empower each other to thrive in our personal lives, career, and businesses. We're two women who are passionate about connecting with and inspiring others in our community. I am Alita Anderson.
And I am Monique Fisher.
And today we have another guest. You know, when it's more than two people, you know, it's somebody we're bringing in.
Yeah.
So this was really special to me because not only is he my pastor, he's also a friend. So thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Reverend Curtis Bryant Jr. And I say it slow, and I want you to take it in because he will say it fast and let you just go on. So I want to give you all of your flowers now because I know you move so fast and you pour into people so much. So I just want you to know that you are appreciated. If I don't tell you enough, I want you to know that now. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, we are excited.
This one, so we kicked off the podcast, and a little funny story, I'll tell a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We started the brokerage in September of last year,
Yes.
August, September timeframe. We had our grand opening. Pastor came out, talked to our grand opening. We had a small business Sunday over the summer. We were featured there, so he got to come in, did the video when we were in construction, before it was all the furniture was here, before the doors opened. So he's been along this path with us. So and then we had this crazy idea of a podcast. And so I was like, you know me, I'm pretty much laid back. I don't really broadcast a lot about what I'm doing and where I'm at. So I was like, I don't know, Monique, what do you think? And she was like, yeah, I kind of want to do it. Monique had the pleasure of visiting our church, and she happened to be online this particular Sunday watching.
Yes.
I was at church, and then he was just talking about telling your story. And I felt like he was doing this.
And I was watching.
And I was like, so I texted her after and was like, so it looks like we're doing the podcast.
Yes.
Because this idea of the podcast came from Monique and I both were at Keller Williams before, and we have a group of people that will reach out to us, ask questions, want to know how we started doing different things. And then even with the brokerage, with getting our real estate license and then our teaching certificate, just how we do some of the things that we do. So we're always answering those questions and pouring into people. So we thought about, how can we share on a larger level and encourage people to step out and do what it is that they want to do. And that's kind of where the podcast came from. But we were a little gun shy of actually doing it. So thank you for the push.
Or the gentle whisper.
to solidify this thing really happening. And now we started in March. You guys will be watching this in June. This will be our last episode for June before we take a break, which we'll talk about towards the end. So yeah, this has been a roller coaster ride.
It's been a roller coaster ride. It's been a good journey too.
Yeah.
It's been cathartic too. Uh-huh. It's good to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And just have people reach out, and we're always saying we may not have the exact experience, but they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I do it or the way Alita does it or you do it, that's okay, right? Yeah. But sharing that journey and showing how you made it to the other side or got through, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, because we had people pour into us. So with this particular episode, we're going to be talking about fatherhood and faith.
Yes.
So we're going to touch on one of my little besties, Miss Corinne. So we'll be talking a little bit about her. We also formed a friendship over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be talking about her, but really just, all of the hats that you wear, husband, father, pastor, pouring into so many people. And I always laugh because whenever there's something done, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And he does it with a smile. So I know that, grace is something that you extend. I've seen you do it several times throughout with dealing with different people, but then also the fatherhood hat. So we want to talk a little bit about, how those two mesh up and, how that journey has been for you. So you can just kick off, tell a little bit about yourself and about your journey as a father.
All right. Well, I would say that of the hats that you mentioned that I wear, fatherhood is one of my favorites because it's one I don't have to work too hard for to be successful. And here's why I say it this way. I am a girl dad, and in my daughter's eyes and Corinne's eyes, I'm a superhero, and that just doesn't change. And so I'm always winning when it comes to her. Other hats that I wear, I got to put a little more work into.
Right.
Yeah, but the fatherhood one, oh yeah, this is all right with me. And she is my twin. She is my shadow. And so there's just there's a good relationship there. So this is a favorite hat of mine. It's also a special hat because what many may not know is the road to become a father and become a parent wasn't paved in familiarity. When it comes to myself and Tania, we had to conceive through in vitro fertilization. We weren't able to conceive in a natural route, which was a journey for us because we had to do several rounds to conceive. And that was not something that we knew, getting married and going into marriage, that we would have to take this step and go this journey. And so when we were finally able, after having several disappointing rounds at IVF, to get the yes and to know that we have not just our girl, but a special girl. Corinne is just a jewel. And so she makes me want to even be a better father because, all right, this is my only shot right here. That's all I got. And so it's a favorite hat of mine. I gotta say, I enjoy being a father, I enjoy being a husband, but this father thing is special.
Yeah,
I gotta say. So, she's 12 years old, just turned 12 a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact. And so I've been able to see her grow into who she is and see the personality changes, her coming into herself. And so to experience life through her at her age, that's an amazing all in itself.
It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It is. And Corinne she has so much personality. She has so much personality. We
just saw her doing the Little Mermaid, and she is phenomenal. Yes. So, and I know that has to be special to see your children start to come into themselves.
Oh yeah.
And show what their voice is, the path may change in 2 years or next year, and that's okay.
That's okay,
and it's okay.
That is
It is all right. Yes, absolutely. So, how has your relationship with God shaped how you parent?
So, I try to parent the way I believe God tries to parent me. So, what I give to her, to give to my child, the amount of love, grace, the forgiveness, direction, correction, all of that, I always do it as I think, okay, this is the type of love that God gives me. It's the type of grace that God gives me. And so I just want to reciprocate that. Well, not give back to him in that way, but give to her the way that I imagine it's been given to me throughout her life and her changes. And it goes deep as I even think through, if I could talk on a theological piece for just a second. So when I was studying to be ordained as a minister, we had to go through this test called catechism. It's a very rigorous test so that you pretty much know what you're talking about. All right. Okay. You go through all of these different things like, okay, what happened when people die? What do you believe about that? What do you preach about Christ? What do you preach about God? What do you preach about the church? All of this. And one of those things is one of the areas that I have to learn to preach about is sin and forgiveness. And so the question is, all right, how do you think God sees us and responds to us and forgives us with sin? And the way I answer that and reconcile that is, well, if I'm a parent, and I am, I look at my child, I'm like, is there anything that my daughter can do that would cause me to distance myself from her or just never want to deal with her again? And now thinking about scriptures, nothing should separate us from the love of God. And so as I think of extremes, like, okay, what if my child took somebody's life, or what if she did something so disappointing? Is there anything that I would feel is too far? And I say no to that. And so with that being said, I try to, as much as I love her, I want her to know that she's loved, that I always love her. And while I may have moments where I'm disappointed, whenever that happens, I would never stop extending grace and forgiveness to her and correction to her, that kind of thing. So how my relationship with my daughter is shaped by what I think my relationship is with God. Yeah, that's how I approach it.
That's beautiful. And it makes you think on a bigger level. One of the things we talked about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we had a new dad on and we were talking about intention.
Yeah.
And sometimes even though, like you mentioned, maybe disappointment, whatever, the intention, and I think our kids can feel that, is that the intention is that I want the best for you. So that if I'm holding you to a higher standard, if I'm telling you you need to do these different things, it's because I just want more for you. And I think you can feel that. So with that intention of loving someone as the Lord loves us, that intention, you can't help but feel that and know where it's coming from. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
In what ways would you intentionally reflect God's fatherhood in how you raise Corinne?
I think it goes back to the grace piece,
Mm-hmm.
and what you mentioned a moment ago is wanting the best for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest mystery between, I would say, with me raising her and with God raising us now is that I don't know what her tomorrow looks like. I don't know what her days look like, our future holds. And so as I try to imagine what the best is for her, I also have to yield to find out, like, as she grows, I got to learn who she is, and also now try to support that and be available to that and resource that as best I can, but again, not having all the answers. So as my hope is that in my sovereignty in my house now, just in my small little world, just try to control as much as I can, and to make her feel supported in that. And the discovery that she has in her life, we kind of find out on our own, together, right? Because I don't know what tomorrow looks like for her, and I can't control that. But what I can control is, all right, whenever she figures it out, like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I can for you. We'll do our best. Between myself and Tania, we gonna do what we can to ensure that that we got you, and we're pushing you, and we will do it all that we can, and in the way again that I imagine God would do for us.
And that's a real important stake, because sometimes what we see, because I'm serious now, Bryson's graduating this year. And Kennedy's following up next year. But some of the things that you're like, oh, I just want you to do this, this, and this. And he's like, no. I'm like, well, okay, so what does that look like? And that was one of the conversations he had, like, you know what? I know that you all want me to go to college, but college is not for me. Instead, I think I want to do a trade. When I do this trade, I want to do this. And then I think I want to maybe open my own business or work here in a union. And then I want to do a bit. And I'm like, but you have a plan. Like, your plan doesn't have to be my plan. My goal is for you to be a productive human being, and that's what you're doing. That path looks a little different. I'm not disappointed in that. I want you to be able to stand on your own, to be able to create a plan and then follow through with that. So the support is going to be there, regardless if you do what I think you should do or what your dad thinks. It's your thing. Like you said, we got your back. But it's funny to see how it shapes. It's like almost like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, I appreciate you telling me that now, instead of when you're on campus doing absolutely nothing, wasting my money. Like, tell me that now. So it and you don't see what's coming, but it is fun to see them kind of step into their own, take those responsibilities. And then you can kind of look like, okay, you were listening. You got a little bit of what we were talking about. So, and I know,
and the most important thing is in creating that environment for her to know that whatever you choose, I'm here. Right. I'm not disappointed. Your path is your path.
That's right.
And that I'm here.
And then how do you, as pastor and dad, make the journey of faith and God be part of her life, but then also not be like you're sitting in the pulpit talking to her on a Sunday morning?
Got you. So I'm intentional. I'm adamant that I am pastor outside of the door, outside of the house. I'm not pastor at the home. Trust me. Nobody calls me pastor in the house. And I refuse to acknowledge it if they do. Trying to be funny. Then that's more not Corinne. That's my Tania. So, because sometimes she'll leverage that if she wants me to act right.
She can say act right.
But no, I do not pastor at home. There's a really good distinction, even down to the even how I communicate with folks. I have two phones. One is strictly church related, and one is my personal phone. And I have boundaries with that. And so there are boundaries in place to ensure that the two are not mixed. I mean, I can never separate myself from being a pastor if somebody calls and needs help.
Right.
But Corinne knows that this is who Daddy is.
Yes.
Right.
But this is not all that Daddy is to her.
Okay.
No, she knows this is Daddy first when it comes to coming in those doors. And if she needs me, she takes precedent. She's paramount when it comes to my life. Family is to me is more important than the church.
So you saying everybody at church ain't got that personal cell number? That's what I hear you saying.
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract. Come on now.
There's a reason why.
That's what I heard.
And that's like two hats, though. When you think about it, you have the fatherhood hat of Corinne in there, and then the father hat of us, I mean, of Mount Zion. And trust me, we can be a lot. so.
And there will be a day that I'm not going to be pastor of Mount Zion.
Right.
Whether it come through retirement or they put me out, or if I pass away, one of these days I will not be in that pulpit. But I'm going to always be her father.
Yes.
Right.
Living or past.
That's
I will
right.
always be her dad. And so I never want to get to a place where she has regrets about me being a pastor before being a father to her. And because I've heard so many coming into this, I've heard so many stories from peers, from mentors that talk about how the family responds to a busy pastor, and the role is fulfilling. There's a lot of good that I enjoy in the role, but it's only for a season, and it's a shorter season than it is that I'll be father.
Yes.
I know that's a
lifetime.
Yes, it is. And so she knows that I'm daddy first, and Tania knows I'm husband first, and so I don't preach at the house. The most that I would do is I'll try to be an authentic example, so she can see what faith looks like without having to feel the pressures of anybody outside or something. Like, okay, if this is how daddy acts, then maybe, or how mommy acts, okay, then it's okay. We do share our faith, and by way of devotion, we pray together. We're always at the table together. But outside of that, there's no regimen that I have her on. No, not at all. Not at all.
So do you feel that maybe there are higher expectations in terms of for Corinne because she is a pastor's child?
So that, yes, there are, but not from us.
Okay.
Not from me. And I would say that they're superficial, but again, they're not coming from me, because I don't see how anyone would ever expect more of my child who is not theirs than their own children. That just doesn't seem fair.
Right. No, not at all.
And why have a model outside of your own home that you would want to tailor your kids or curb your own, if there is any comparison, which I don't know if there is or not, but no one should have to feel like that my kid should operate at a standard that you don't expect of your own, or even why would you expect certain behaviors of my child, because this is my child.
Exactly.
But I understand that.
But you hear PK,
yes.
PK stories, and so and she's 12,
she's
right?
12.
So she may not feel it, but I'm sure you do a good job of letting her know I'm your dad, and these expectations and what other people have or put on you, you don't necessarily have to take or accept.
No, and we don't. We're careful to help her dismiss those. If it ever was to infiltrate her mind, if it were ever to bother her or be a concern to her, like, no, that ain't for you.
Right.
That's not your thing. That's not something you have to own. But that the PK, the preacher's kid dynamic, it's a real thing. It's come from somewhere. I think it's a superficial thing. Somebody created it for whatever reason, and I don't want to ever put that on her. And here's why: because I don't want my daughter to feel like she has to be afraid to make mistakes, or if the pressure is too great, then she'll make her mistakes and hide her mistakes, and that would create a world within our house that we don't want and we did not create, and don't want to have to deal with. All right, that's the other thing that also. So no, there's no PK coming out of our mouths towards her. We're not projecting that on her. If somebody else tries to, that's what. Take it back where you got it from. We don't want that pressure on her. I would hope that she has the same grace that I was given in growing up and whatever mistakes I made. And hopefully that she can do that on her own and grow from it on her own,
Yeah.
and only have any kind of correction that may come from myself or Tania or anyone else who may be trusted, but not from all these eyes looking at her.
Right.
That's not fair.
Not
Right.
at all.
Not at all.
How would you say you model being vulnerable and then also being authentic for your child in the role as a pastor? Because like you said, there's a lot of things that are projected as pastors should do this, first lady should do that. Then the other people like, so how do you, and then we always laugh and joke too, because it's a slippery slope for me because I know you. So I laugh and I look and I know and trust and love you as a person, genuinely. So those titles make me laugh because they're so far from that stereotypical role. But I know that sometimes people see, oh, Reverend Doctor, like, oh, let me just, let me make sure I'm on my best behavior and things like that, instead of really getting to know who you are. And with Corinne watching so closely, how do you juggle both worlds, I'd say?
I would say, give me a question again.
Okay. So with it being the authentic piece of being authentic and vulnerable as a pastor and then as a dad. Are there anything you do so because Corinne's watching so that she can kind of get a taste of both? Okay.
So the way I juggle or even balance the two, I try my best to do something I call managing the shadow. All right. And so let me explain what that is.
Okay.
So because just imagine if everybody's life has like a light that's kind of shining on it that may represent how many they're exposed to. My exposure is different than maybe some of her peers, parents, or anybody. I have a lot of folks who are watching me, and as often as you have more lights or brighter lights shining on you, and your platform is changing or different, then there's a greater chance that your shadow kind of extends. All right, it's kind of like what the sun will do to you at whatever position it's at. So, and that shadow is maybe the things that I consider failures or mistakes, shortcomings, whatever the case is, because I'm not perfect and I never will be. And my hope is that she knows that that's a reality for Daddy. And in addition to that, I can remember there was a time growing up, and I think it happened maybe when I was like 19 or so. It was a crazy reality, but I came to a conclusion from my dad that growing up, I always thought he was a superhero, thought he was the greatest thing, and he could do anything. And then there was a one day where there was a mistake that was made by him that was so in my face, and I was like, oh God, my dad is not Superman. And so I'm deathly afraid of that day when it comes to her, that she realizes, okay, well, Daddy is not perfect, but Daddy's not a superhero. Daddy's not, everything there is, the greatest day walking. So my hope as balancing the two different roles, pastor and father, for her is to be authentic. I mean, she sees me when I come up short. She sees me when I'm hard on myself. She sees me when I'm venting to Tania about what may be going on in the church that everybody doesn't know and not going to be privy to, and you never going to know. You're never going to find out. She's exposed to all of that, and I don't shy from the things that I do wrong in the role. And so bit by bit, she can kind of get the real picture of who I am, so that there never is this facade or even something that she expects of me that's never attainable. Like, I want you to know that your dad is not the greatest thing out here, not perfect, but I'm gonna do the best that I can. And so the authenticity, that I kind of lead with that in any role at this point, especially with fatherhood. I mean, because this is a pastoral role. It's a job that I do. I'm called to it, much like anybody's called to any position. This one comes with some scrutiny. But for her, I want her to know that I can be successful in it, but never perfect.
Mhm.
And so I don't shy away from that. Now, there's some exposure that she will never have when it comes to it. There's some problems that we will never share with her.
Right.
And in that is how we manage with that shadow is.
Okay.
Like, okay, Daddy ain't got it all together, but we ain't gonna all Daddy business.
Right.
Either.
Right.
That kind
Right.
of thing. But please know, I slip up. I do.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. This all doesn't come with a manual.
No.
You figure it out as you go along. It's not, and we were talking too about, as they develop their personalities, then you have to learn too how to relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your parenting style changes over time too, right? Because we're talking about, like right now, she's 12. This is a great age. She's discovering who she is, and you see it. You see the growth, and then as they get older, then it becomes more of I'm a counselor or a guide. So right now, it's the it's a great time. But the role changes, and we have to learn how to change with it. And sometimes that's difficult. It really is.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's very difficult.
Yes,
but we just have to be honest and authentic in who we are. And relating to our kids and communicate. So I love it.
I do too. I think that's awesome. What are some things that you do as a family? There's some of your practices you do at home.
So we are conscious to have we call it some table time together. If there be nothing else, we're always going to be at the table together. So we eat every day.
Yes.
And so when it comes to dinner, despite our complicated schedules, and they change daily.
Yes.
But again, we eat every day. We eat at the same time every day, and so we are conscious to always be there. We have our shows that we watch, depending on whatever season it is. And so we are intentional about not going ahead and watching, because there's never time we're able to sit there and watch stuff live on TV.
No.
So we're always catching up, and so we are not going to skip ahead without the other person knowing. We don't know. We don't want those problems. Yeah, we don't. So
I would feel it.
So that is one thing we have. And we do try to have family dates at least twice a month. We're getting better at it because things have been so all over the place in recent weeks, especially with the play and rehearsals. And then some weekends I'm called away to do different stuff. We got this the month of May, and so like every weekend women are doing something. And it's gonna be the same thing when it comes to June. So but we always have nothing else. We're gonna have that time together. We'll get nothing else. We have that time together.
I'll be doing fun stuff too. I'll be looking like,
adventurous. But that's all intentional.
It is. It is. And when we can vacation, we completely disconnect, and we are intentional about that. I mean, to the point where phones are down. We'll take pictures, but we ain't calling nobody. No, not at all. We may call the pet sitter. That would be the only one that we reach out to. Outside of that's
right. Because everybody's here.
Yeah,
everybody's here. So you're good.
Yeah.
And you need that time to recharge.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you do? We talk a lot about self-care and being able to take that step away to kind of recharge so that you can be the best person, not just for yourself, but for everybody around you. What are some of the things you do for self-care?
I'm big on movies. I enjoy movies. I do. I still have a PlayStation at home that I play often. And if I ever feel a need to, I don't feel a need to be violent. But if I can take frustrations out on people I've never seen, that's absolutely right.
That's right.
And that's what that's there for.
That's what that's there for.
And I'm good, by the way.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to tell my husband, you have to have a competition. What you play?
I like Call of Duty.
Okay.
I enjoy that. For the most part, that's it. And I like being. This is kind of weird. I do enjoy being by myself if I have the opportunity. So the way that looks now in a busy schedule, I'm driving home or so. I may not take the highway. I may take the long route just to have that time to myself. I'm gonna get to where I need to be. I'm gonna take care of whatever I need to. But Yeah, I do enjoy that time.
It's like a scenic route.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I love that. Those are pretty good roles.
Yeah, it is important to recharge. It is. You have to have some me time.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can show up. We did a podcast that said self-care is not just for you.
Mhm.
It's for all of those who you support.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. You know, I'm sure both of you travel,
Mhm.
and whenever you fly, the adage that you come across is whenever stewardess is going over the safety instructions and tell you about the mask that drop down in the event of emergency. You always do yours first.
You do you
Yes.
first.
Because if you try to take care of somebody else, you may pass
That's
out
right,
in the
doing
attempt.
it.
You're no
It
good
can-
to anyone else
No good to
Yes.
anyone else.
until you take care of yourself
That
first.
is absolutely right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and sometimes for people it's hard to do because they feel like it's selfish.
Mhm.
Because like you said, they're looking at it not as to help everybody else, but oh my gosh, I can't take time away to help me. I gotta help everybody else. But you can only do that for so long without taking care of you.
Mhm.
That's true.
And I think it's something that a lot of people have to learn. It's
Mhm.
not if you're really giving of yourself, I struggled with it when I took care of my parents and I was finding I wasn't taking care of me. And so that's not good either, right? So sometimes it's something that you learn that it is important and it's not selfish,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
That's right.
it's a journey. It's a
That's
journey.
That's right. And that also spills into fatherhood and even into the pastoral role. There are moments that I've learned it myself recently, more recently than ever before, to delegate and let other folks do things so that I can be better for those, especially within the household first, for Corinne and for Tania. Because the pastoral role just weighs on you so much. And so even to this year, there's some Sunday, I'm not preaching as many Sundays as I normally do, and not doing as many Bible studies as I normally do, which is fine. It gives others a chance to grow and sharpen their craft,
right.
but then also gives me time to breathe a little bit.
Yes.
And I appreciate those breaths
Yeah.
a whole lot, and it gives me space to be more present. And not to feel so weighed down at home, where again it really matters to being present in the household, to being present for those that I live with. Because after this role is gone, I still got them. I still got
Right. Yes.
Every
and
day.
they still got me.
Yes.
And at the end of my career, I don't want to ever give them what's left.
Right.
You know, that everyone else gets to pull from me and get the best of me, and then Tania doesn't have the best version of her husband, the one she chose and she married, and then Corinne doesn't have the best version of her father because someone else got the better pieces of me throughout the years.
Right.
And so the self-care component is especially important now than ever, looking down the road and wanting to have a better future in life, with them. Again, they come first, and so they should get the best more than anybody else, and not shortchanging anybody.
Right.
But they deserve it.
Definitely.
They deserve it because they support me in ways that no one else would ever have to and ever know about.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Absolutely.
We were just touching on that. We did a podcast earlier with our spouses, and we were talking about us not being able to do this without them being able to be supportive of us. Because it's like, this is what you see us doing. But while we're doing this, there's still things going on in our household. You still have to be supportive of it because it's a production. And although you might see me, it doesn't mean that T's not part of this. It's just that you don't see that part of it. But in order for me to do this, he has to be doing something else. So it kind of has to work. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, and I always laugh because when we have projects or anything going on, I'll be like, okay, we're gonna do this. Yes, we're gonna do this. And I'm like, well, who's doing it? Me. And me. And me. And I'm like, you need people for that.
Right.
I'm like, you can't do everything. But you do. You take on so much and it's authentic. And one of the things I will say is that all of the things in the outreach and the things that we have going on at Mount Zion and just in general, there's not one thing I can think of that you have not stepped up to be able to do. Meaning you don't say, oh, I think you all should go out and help people do that. He's always the first one to be like, let me show you what I really want outreach to look like. Let me show important to people. And that's that genuine piece of it. So I can certainly see you needing self-care because you pour into so many people so much. So yeah, I applaud you for taking that time out. because you need it.
And thank you for encouraging it, because she's the first one. It's like
you need a team.
Yes,
You giving that to?
uh-huh.
Yeah, I understand. We all need assistance and
We
extra people.
do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother episode of accountability.
It is.
So-
It is.
For Corinne's personal relationship with God, apart
Mhm.
from your own faith, how do you encourage her to do things and kind of create her own thing, but create her own walk?
So we have some help that's kind of built in through her school. She goes to Trinity Christian School. And so they reinforce her spiritual development, and that's great. And when it comes to being at home, and I mentioned earlier that I don't pastor at home, I don't preach at home, but it does not mean that we just forego faith at the house either. So the way it looks is when she has questions about life, and when she has thoughts that I think are teaching moments, then we do interject faith into that.
Okay.
And it may come sometimes as could be a lesson or so. More so than not, it would be if some kind of question, something to make her think.
Got it.
All right. And so I'll give you an example. Recently there was a media shower that we were privy to right around Easter or so. We were, we were able to see when it was a clear night, meteors at their peak, and she was so adamant about staying up and to watch it to see if we could find a shooting star, because she wanted to wish on a shooting star. That is just in her mind. And so as it's getting later and later in the night, and because it's cloudy out this way and not the clearest, and it's getting cold, and I'm like, all right, baby girl, you gotta go to sleep. You got school in the morning. What is the big issue about the shooting star? She's like, well, I want to wish on it. And I said, okay, well, you wishing, who are you wishing to? And what can wishing on the star do that praying to God can't do? And you just kind of leave it at that. And just have her think that through, and to explore that on her own and kind of find her way. And although I didn't hear all the details, I think the next morning or the next day or so, I overheard her and Tania talking about that. And Tania wasn't there at the time, so I know Corinne may have brought it up somehow. And so now she's working through that thing, and she's processing that thing for herself, and now leaning on the side of faith, but letting her come to that conclusion on her own. That's kind of how it looks at home.
Right.
I mean, she's got to come into her own faith and her own theology. She got to understand and learn who God is for herself, because I did, and I know Tania did, and so she needs to be afforded the same thing as well.
Right.
And we do our best to guide her and definitely make sure if there's any questions she may have, that we give her the truth that we know, and that what we believe.
Right.
That's our hope. That's kind of how it is. It may seem or feel kind of passive. Well, I guess maybe it is, but it's intentional.
Yeah, and I think that creates that, like you said, the personal relationship, because then she's coming thinking to it and processing it for herself to kind of come through. And then that might even spark another conversation of what it looks like. I was thinking about this and how does it decide. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like,
And
you're not
preaching at her.
No.
Yes.
No.
If it had been in our day, no, you ain't watching no wishing star. And you gotta go to school, and you better go up in your room and pray. That would have been the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to put it out there and let it come, because she seems very intelligent. And so you're letting her develop that.
And she has faith. And in addition to developing, we do reinforce what she's very strong, which holds near and dear. So let me tell you another story. There was one time when her and I were walking around a park up there, I think it's Settlers Point. We love that park. It's up in Plainfield. Yes, it's a beautiful park. Now, as we're making our way around the trail, we come across this turtle that has been, I don't know if it's a turtle or frog, I can't remember, some kind of amphibian. It's deceased on the side of the track.
Okay.
And as I'm walking, I recognize she's not walking with me. And so I'm turning around, and there she is, stooped down, and she's messing with this thing. And she is so distraught over the fact that this this animal was no longer living. And she looks at me and says, can it come back? Can it be resurrected? Because she believes in the power of the resurrection.
Right.
I said, baby girl, I don't think it's gonna happen for this thing right here. And so in her mind, it's like, well, can we at least pray over it? I said, okay, we can pray over this thing. And so we pray for the spirit of this turtle. And I'm thinking it's over, but it's not. Because lo and behold, a few steps I'm taking off, she hasn't come with me. She manages to somehow get the turtle. I don't know what she carried it on. I think on a leaf or something like that, but she carries that thing and she's like, well, we want to have a funeral for it. I'm like, okay, all right, we want to, we're going to pay our respects with this turtle. And so we bring that thing home and we have a service for it. We bury it in the back. It's still back there now. We have a committal for it. I mean, everything. But her, her faith is okay. I believe in the power of resurrection. I believe of being good stewards over those that we love and hold near and dear. And Daddy, you gonna do the service. And it happens. It happened. Yes. So that's one of the rare moments where Pastor and Father came together. Right. But it was done
you were instructed.
but done so to affirm her in her faith and what she believed. And again, not to dismiss it, to say that I think Dad's gonna stay there. I didn't want to do that because then what would happen at that point? Right. I mean, what do I gain in a moment like that? So we went along with it. All of us were present down to the cats. We were all there to bury this turtle. And so this is how we push it and encourage it. It does, because she believes. She believes. She is. She has expectations of what faith looks like and of how I operate, what my role is, and what her faith, how her faith is shaped. And so I'm okay with that.
Now, do you have any expectations of her having a particular role in the church, or is that not?
No. She whatever it is that she wants to do, and I'll even go so far to say, if she has anything she wants to do in the church, and I'm intentional about that language because I was reared in church in a space, and granted, I come from a very big church with thousands of members. All right, and so my church back in Richmond, Virginia, had a lot of different ministries and groups that you can be a part of, and some took interest. I took interest in some of those. This space that I'm operating in doesn't have all of that, and I don't think we're in a place right now where we would be right now, at least, accepting of all that even I was exposed to growing up in my home church. With that being said, outside of ushering, singing, and dancing, there hasn't been too much that somebody her age could be introduced to. And I'm more concerned with her being pushed and reared and encouraged to do something that she enjoyed or gifted in doing. And if the church doesn't have space for that, then I'm not going to force you into something that
just to say you're doing
is of no interest to you.
That and then to possibly have her have some disdain for whatever it is that she's doing and not want to be involved at all. So if she wants to be involved, then by all means, she certainly can. Thankfully, she likes to sing, and so she sings with the choir. But even if she couldn't hold a note, I would not force her in that choir. We don't have or practice the gone baby syndrome, right? One of those things that, all right, since you're there, gone baby, don't do this. And kids be miserable. And so we don't practice that. But when we get to a place that there's something that she enjoys doing and then the church offers it, then by all means, because imagine this, in some of the ministry experiences I've had, I've seen kids who practice art differently, that they were allowed to paint on the side of the building. All right, they can do murals because they're gifted that way. They're kids who help run the tech and the audio, the social media for the church. And again, that's things that we're not there yet. I think we will be one day, but we're just not there. I mean, they can cut and edit and film better than, I mean, some of the most seasoned people in their career. And so those kinds of things, if this is what you're coming up in and you find interest in, then do that. But it's right now, if there's no space like that, then I'm not going to push her into something. I don't have any expectations of her doing something for church. I'm more so pushing her to her passions. And yes, that's what we do.
So I'm going to ask this. Do you have any advice for any new dads? We've asked all the dads that.
Yeah, I would say, you love on your child to the best of your ability. Love in a way. There are any gaps that you love in the way that you wish that you were loved as a child, because I think that makes up the difference. And gives a more I don't think holistic is the word I'm looking for, but it's an enriching experience, I would say. And know that there is good advice out here, and I say that while I'm giving advice. There is no perfect blueprint for it. You're gonna learn how to be the dad you're supposed to be. Daily. Every single day,
it changes.
You go come into it, and you go figure out how to do it. But then I would also add to, then you got to be bold enough to step into it. I mean, you know what areas you need to kind of move into and dedicate energy to. And so if you don't, that's on you. But I would encourage it, because it's such a fulfilling role. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Fatherhood is awesome.
One of the questions that we always ask is about grace. So I'll make this one twofold. As a father, what are ways that you show grace to Corinne? And then what are some ways that you think that Corinne shows you, or that you've been shown grace as a father?
Okay. So one way that I show grace to her, when I see the distinction between the roles at home, myself and Talia, I'm not the disciplinarian at home. I'm just soft when it comes to her. Okay. To my daughter, Talia, not so much. She go hold her accountable differently, and it's not a bad thing. It's not this is not to say we got a good parent, bad parent thing going at home. No, there is a whole experience at home, and so there is a correction, and then there is the comfort portion that comes with it. And so that is me. Well, even though grace comes through correction as well. All right. So I want to be very clear when I say that. All right. So but when it comes to extending grace to her, especially when correction is needed. All right. Well, let's make sure all right, well, this is kind of where we went wrong. There are some expectations of correctness and doing right and doing better. And so we just don't stop at the correction stage. We're like, all right, this is how we grow from here. This is how we come back, how we bounce back from this. And so we do very much focus on making sure she knows that. That's how we do extend grace. How I extend grace, at least as a father. I want her to know that it's okay to make mistakes and to come up short, and also I celebrate whatever wins that she has, big or small. I want to make sure she knows that we're not always dedicating energy to the times when things aren't right or things aren't perfect. That we celebrate just as much as we correct, and so there's grace there. And if grace is extended to me, it comes through her calling me daddy every day. I don't get a cold shoulder. At least I know
like,
that she still likes me. She still trusts me, and she's still okay with me.
Yes.
She still comes to me. That I see that as grace. That I know she was given to me as I am given to her. But there's also there's an implied choice in there too, because she doesn't have to be like a good kid. She doesn't, and I don't have to be a good dad either. But she still calls me dad. That's still my baby. And I see that as grace being given to me, and I still have the privilege of being her dad. That I'm still breathing that, and I haven't been taken at this point in life, and so I still have that chance to do what I can for her as a dad.
Yeah.
That I see as grace given to me, not necessarily from her now,
Right.
but from God. That the fatherhood is a gift in my eyes.
It is. I love that.
Being a parent is a true gift. It
Mhm.
really is.
Mhm.
And when you walk that journey, you know, you may not feel it every day. Not every day,
No.
but
No.
it's good.
Mhm.
It's a good experience.
It is.
Really is.
It is. It is. I enjoy it. Well, is there any last words or anything that you wanted to share?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No? Okay. We touched on a lot. No, we
Yeah,
touched on a
we
lot. So thank you
did,
for
yeah.
taking time out. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Our episodes are going to be on Tuesdays. New episodes come out Tuesdays at 10 a.m. So please like and subscribe those. Also for Mount Zion, in the bio, you will have the streaming link because although you may not be near or in Joliet, Illinois, you can still join us on Sundays by logging in. So we'll have all that information so you can catch the services on Sunday as well.
Yep. And we want you to know that this will end our fatherhood series.
Mhm.
And Alita and I have really enjoyed doing this whole podcast series. And we're going to take a little break. We talked about self-care. We're going to take a little
Just
break
a little
and
break.
rejuvenate and talk about what our next steps are. But we'll definitely be back for season 2, correct?
We will,
We'll be
yes.
back in the fall. And we look forward to bringing you more episodes
Mhm.
and see how it's going to look because we don't quite know yet.
We don't. So while we're away, you still will see we have some blooper reels that
Yes, we got
believe
some
it or
bloopers.
not, we don't do this perfectly every week. So you'll get some behind the scenes footage of things that we're preparing for the episodes, things that happen afterwards. So you see some of those come through on Instagram and also on YouTube. And then be on the lookout to see when we are going to start back up for the fall because we'll need some participation. So we're looking forward to you all being able to reach out and join us for when we come back for season 2. So thank you so much for joining us and we'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.